Hey, beautiful star beings. This is Meagan Mermaid, and it is a full moon in Pisces. Some interesting energy today. So I had some space, which I normally don't have. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go live. I really wanted to talk about the energy of this moon because number one, it's a blue moon, which doesn't happen very often. And number two, there's some interesting energies here. So it's worth noting. And, you know, if you're new to my work, of course, my name is Meagan Mermaid, and I teach feminine energy with the magic of the mermaids of Sirius. And this is my deck, the Mermaid Empowerment Oracle deck. So if you want to get your own copy of that, you can visit the link in my bio or in the description below. And I just felt called to come on today, talk a little bit about these energies and how we can use them to our advantage, and also how to kind of move through some of the challenges that we're going through. So, the first thing that I want to say is right now we have 6 planets in retrograde. 6 planets. And so in my research, I found a statistic that said like this only happens with that many planets retrograde in 0.7% of the time. So it's not very often that we're feeling this kind of energy. And on top of that, it's not very often that we have a blue moon. So, what is a blue moon? Blue moons are when we either have 2 full moons in one calendar month or we have 2 full moons in the same sign. So this month it was the first where it was a calendar month, and we have the beginning of this month, we had the full moon in Aquarius, and now we're in the full moon in Pisces. So, full moons in general are a time of releasing. And when we have these full moons, it's a time for us to let go of things that have really been holding us back. Now, Pisces is this really beautiful energy that is ruled by Neptune. And so, Neptune is a very spiritual energy. It rules spirituality and intuition and creativity and artistry, and we can feel very romantic and very compassionate and very empathic with Neptunian energy. But the shadow side of Pisces is, being in the state of victim consciousness, feeling like things are happening to us, feeling like we're out of control in some way, or attracting people that may take advantage of us, or that we feel deceived by, or that we feel betrayed by. And, Neptune and Pisces also rules addiction. So there's also this really strong tendency in energies like this to, want to check out. And so this moon is conjunct to Saturn, which means that it's sort of like we can think of energy, and hi Leah, good to see you. We can sort of think of the energy of Pisces as like having these rose colored glasses that we view the world with. And when Saturn comes along, Saturn is like earth and Neptune is spirit. So Saturn kind of gives us those tough love lessons sometimes about like where we need a reality check on what we want and what's actually happening. So, with that energy, we can sometimes feel a little bit of sadness. And if you're experiencing sadness or oppression, is a good word for Saturnian energy, where you feel like oppressed in some way, or you feel like something is out of your control in some way. It's really important that we're super gentle with ourselves in this process, and we're super kind to other people because we never know what somebody's going through. And so, on top of that, bright shining star of a full moon, we also have Venus and Mercury in retrograde. Thank goodness Venus is going to be going direct next week. But, I feel like we're revisiting all sorts of things, especially related to finances and romance and partnership and all sorts of things that can feel challenging to look at. But the good news is that we also have this opportunity if we can be willing to sit with the discomfort, if we can be willing to contemplate the challenging emotions and ask, like, What am I not seeing here? What is my block? Spirit, show me what I'm missing. If we can have this intention on this full moon, I would actually encourage you, rather than trying to set intentions, which normally is new moon energy, but full moon energy is about releasing and letting go. But if we wanted to add to that frequency, just having that intention for this full moon of asking spirit, what am I missing? What am I not seeing? What do I need to release? You're going to open the space for some really powerful breakthroughs. And I know that we've been going through a lot of challenging energy for quite some time now. I mean, Venus has been retrograde, going on 6 weeks. And sometimes when we get into this space of like challenge or feeling the discomfort, it almost becomes like the new reality, and it can be challenging to feel hopeful. It can feel challenging to believe that it's ever going to change. I know for myself, I've experienced a lot of rejection in the past few weeks, a lot of heartbreaks and setbacks and obstacles, but what I've also discovered in those moments is my ability to bounce back and the power of my resiliency. And so, my prayer is that you're able to experience those same types of lessons and discover your strength and your power and your ability to move through challenges and continue to transform into who you're meant to be. Every challenging experience is the soil that our lotus can grow from and where we get our next glow up. So if we can look at every experience as an opportunity to up level, then no matter how challenging it may feel in the moment, it's always going to be an opportunity to upgrade and to become our next best self. So the message that was really coming through strongly today is just this energy of belief and acceptance. And when we're going through periods of transition, then it can feel challenging to have belief. And it's interesting because I have this keychain on my keys, or I did, and it says believe. And the other day I went to pull my keys out of my purse, and like it literally just fell off of my keychain. And I was like, well, that feels true. Like just letting go of belief, where, we have to get to those moments of like really being like, okay, universe, like, I don't know how this is ever going to get better. I don't know how this is going to have a solution, or I don't know how I'm going to ever stop feeling this way, but I'm open to it. I'm willing to see this differently. And that's when the acceptance comes through. When we're having a hard time believing, then we've got to find the acceptance. And mermaid consciousness, the mermaid empowerment for acceptance is I accept what is and create from there. And then we can move into the energy of surrender. And the mermaid empowerment for surrender is I'm available for the best possible outcome. So when we're in those moments of transition or challenge, and we can accept that everything is happening exactly the way that it is. I was listening to this talk from Richard Rudd, who is the creator of the Gene Keys. And he was sharing about how someone had asked him, do we have to suffer? And he said, no, but suffering just is. What are you going to do? And it's kind of like this cosmic joke of, we can talk all about like, should we suffer or should we not? But the truth is that suffering exists. And so we can either ignore it and distract ourselves and numb ourselves, which is that shadow side of Pisces, where we just check out because it feels too much. Or we can use that suffering as the fuel, the passion for our creativity and our passion and our artistry, and to share our story so that other people know that they're not alone. Because, all of these things that we go through, we're healing collective wounds. It can feel very individual in our personal lives when we're going through something. But that's the illusion that we are alone in our suffering, or we are the only one that's experiencing this, or everybody else's life is so good. Why is my life this? It's all sorts of lies that we can tell ourselves, right? So today I'm going to pull some cards from the Mermaid Empowerment Oracle deck about how to move through this energy to release whatever we need to release. And if you're joining live, feel free to say hello. Let me know where you're joining from. So happy to have you here. I'm going to do a star spread. And star spreads are 5 cards: the current situation, the advice, challenge, and we have correct action, other possibilities, and the synthesis, which is tying it all together. So if you want to get your own copy of the Mermaid Empowerment Oracle deck, that link is in the description, or you can also visit my website if you want to book a reading and I can use the cards to read for you. So let's see what's happening today. Interesting, interesting, interesting. All right. So the first card that we have for the current situation is desire. And the Mermaid Empowerment is desire is the fire that sparks my devotion. So desire is that spark. We've got to want something in order to create change in our lives, in order to move towards that. There are certain paths that you can take for self-actualization that renounce desire, but ultimately it's really finding this balance of having the desires, allowing the desire to be there without letting it consume you, and without berating yourself or judging yourself or wishing that uh, the desire was here. So that's more of like a yearning energy. So the difference between desire and yearning is that when we yearn for something, we're noticing the separation, the lack of where we're at compared to where we want to be. And we're wishing, yearning for something to be different. And that creates more suffering. Now, a desire, on the other hand, when we approach this energy in a higher frequency, desire is that force that drives us to make the changes. And it's this trust that obviously we have this desire in our heart because it wouldn't be possible otherwise. We receive through our imagination, which is our connection to source, this desire in our heart. And then we've got to choose to go on that journey to become the version of ourselves that can receive that desire. So because we've been in all of this retrograde energy, I feel like what's happening is we're going back and we're clearing away all of the stuff, all of the residue, all of the patterns that are keeping us from believing that our desire is possible. But when we're in that, it doesn't always feel comfortable, right? It just feels like things are slowing down and not working, and there's just setbacks and challenges, and it's not fun. And that's where we can kind of lose some of that hope. But it's important to acknowledge that and to know that if you've felt challenged in keeping the faith or keeping that hope that what you want is possible, you're not alone. You're not alone. This is a collective energy. And so the advice is new chapter. And the Mermaid Empowerment for new chapter is every sunset brings a new tomorrow. And I feel like that's really important to understand today, that we're sort of at this sunset point where, certain things in your life may be falling away, and it may feel like whatever you used to know is gone, but you're not quite at that place where that new version of you is settled in. And that can feel like a lot of anxiety or uncertainty. And if you've been feeling that, feel free to share that in the chat. But this is saying that we're moving towards a new chapter, that whatever is falling away, it's for a reason. But we also have to recognize that because we're in so much retrograde energy, in order to call in this new chapter, we have to go back before we can move forward. So this is a time where we can sort of figure out what the patterns, the themes, whatever has happened in the past, how do we clean that up so that we can prepare for this next chapter? Now, the card that's in the challenge position is Pearl. And the Mermaid Empowerment for Pearl is I'm willing to see the pearl of wisdom. And this is how we move through difficult situations with grace and ease, rather than asking in a victim way, like the shadow side of Pisces can feel like sometimes, rather than asking, why is this happening to me? Which is taking away your control and making you a victim of your circumstances. A more empowering question to ask is, how is this happening for me? What am I learning from this situation? And so that's why the mermaid empowerment for Pearl is I'm willing to see the pearl of wisdom. Just as I talked about at the beginning of today's transmission, that if we set the intention today, Spirit, show me what I'm missing, show me the block, show me my blind spot. We can also say, I'm willing to see the pearl of wisdom. Help me to understand why I've gone through the difficulties. Help me to see how these difficulties have a purpose, that they are not meant to just bring me down, but they're meant to empower me in some way. And when we start to look at our lives, uh, and come from this place of curiosity, we start to recognize that there is meaning to everything. There is purpose to everything. Even in the things that feel challenging, oftentimes they're repeat situations from things that have happened in the past that we didn't get to clear. And in my own personal life, as I've been contemplating and working in the gene keys, specifically with the Venus sequence, which is all about activating and opening your heart, I've been diving deep into the spheres of the EQ and the IQ. And both of these spheres talk about our emotional and mental intelligence. And oftentimes, the gene keys talks about things, the Venus sequence of the gene keys talks about things that happen in 7-year cycles. So upon my contemplation of these cycles, I started to recognize these unhealthy relationship dynamics that started when I was like 14 and when I was 16, and how these relationships in my teen years that felt very challenging and very destructive created this blueprint and this pattern that I continued to reenact and reenact and reenact. And finally, during this Venus retrograde, it got to the point where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this again. And so it was like, that was my pearl, where like I finally had it and I saw the connection. I found my pearl. So I don't have to repeat that anymore. And so that's sort of like what the purpose of challenging situations is. Like when we can look at them with curiosity and ask how they're happening for us, we get those epiphanies, those aha moments, and then we can move forward. So, the correct action for today is joyful. And the mermaid empowerment is my joy heals the whole world. And so, we have to just figure out, what can we do to stay joyful? What can we do to be present in this moment? Oftentimes, we have this collective consciousness that pings our mind and our awareness to want to ruminate over the past, what's already happened, or feel anxious and worried about what's to come. And it takes us out of the present moment. But the present moment is where our power is. And so it doesn't mean that you ignore painful emotions, but you can feel joyful and also feel sad. You can feel joyful and be going through deep grief. You can feel joyful and also experience all sorts of emotions. Joy is deeper than just this fleeting emotion. Joy is this feeling of knowing that there's so much gratitude and beauty in this moment, and the suffering that we go through can only enhance our ability to receive that beauty and to receive that joy. So when the mermaids say, my joy heals the whole world, it's true, because joy is the highest frequency. So, you know, it's almost like I was given the words from my guides, like dancing in the storm, where it's like the ultimate rebellion to recognize that no matter what is happening around us, or no matter what we're seeing in the world, because there's a lot of really difficult things to look at in the world right now. And it does feel like sometimes it's hard to stay joyful, but that's the rebellion, and recognizing, like, no matter what happens, we can keep our joy. We can choose to keep creating and keep laughing and connecting, and finding the beauty in every moment. Like, that is something that cannot be taken from us. We have a choice to choose joy, and that's what this moon is asking us to do, is to choose joy. you know and so the next card that we have for other possibilities is approval. And the mermaid empowerment is, I approve of myself completely. So this is really important because, when things are happening, especially with Venus and Mercury retrograde, we're having interactions with other people. Sometimes these interactions may turn into conflicts. Sometimes there could be misunderstandings. And what happens when we have misunderstandings? We might blame ourselves and think, oh, well, if I were different, if I were prettier, if I were younger, if I were this, if I were that, maybe then I would feel more accepted. But we have to recognize that our external world is just a mere reflection of our internal reality. So the more that we can approve of ourselves as our weird little magical selves, the more we're going to see that reflected back to us. And we've got to recognize that, like, it's not personal. Even if we feel that wound of rejection, even if we're experiencing a challenging time, we have to recognize it's not because we're not enough. It's because we're all choosing to heal a slice of the karmic pie. And so that's just the lesson that we're going through. So that's why we got to look for that pearl. And our last card today is faith. And the mermaid empowerment is I have faith in my fairy tale life. So we've got to have faith that this new chapter is coming, that whatever we desire is not only possible, but it's on its way. And in the meantime, you've got to do whatever it takes to focus on your self-care, have gratitude, continue to give, be of service. If you're getting into your emotions and your feelings, do something to help somebody else. That's the quickest way to get out of your own self-pity party is to figure out, how can I love, serve, and give? How can I be of support to somebody else right now? That's going to raise your vibration, and it's going to help you to experience more joy. We've also got to be intentionally looking and searching for the pearls of wisdom and asking, like, what is it that I need to see? And in the meantime, approving of ourselves, loving ourselves, and really honoring ourselves and our journey. Meagan's sharing, I'm totally feeling all of that. I drew the mermaid card today, echoes. Thank you so much for your mermaid wisdom. You've been monumental with helping me. I'm the creatrix and joy is it. Yay. I love that, Meagan. And I'm so grateful to be here to support you on your journey. And I love that you drew that card, echoes. It's so powerful for today. And the card echoes in the mermaid empowerment oracle deck, the affirmation is I witness the echoes and watch them fade. And that's so perfect for retrograde energy, where it might seem like things are coming up from the past that we thought we healed. And, you know, there's more to look at, there's more to see. So, focus on your self-care, focus on gratitude, go out in nature, just like take a moment to pause and breathe and watch the birds flying and look at the trees and how they sway in the wind, and recognize that, like, everything is okay. It might not feel like everything is okay, but a lot of what we're fearful about or worried about is really just in our mind. But in this moment, everything is okay. And, you know, when people talk about the fifth dimension or heaven on earth or whatever it is, it's not like we're going somewhere else. We're literally here. It's literally now, in this moment. We're just clearing out all of the things that are keeping us from being present to enjoying it. So be kind to yourselves. We're going through a lot, individually and collectively, but we're just the person to get through it and to awaken to our dreams and our goals and everything that we're here to do, that it's on the way. It's on the way. We're just pausing and resetting before we go headstrong into the next chapter. So if you're interested in getting your own copy of the Mermaid Empowerment Oracle deck or booking a personal reading, you can visit the link in my bio. And I just encourage you today to just take a moment to go out under the moon and, you know, release the old stuff, release the old versions, and say, like, just show me, what am I missing? I'm willing to see the pearl of wisdom. What am I not seeing? Show me the blind spot, and you'll get your epiphany. I promise you. So I love you all. Thank you so much for joining me live or on the replay. And I believe in you and I love you. Have a great day.